Good morning, Anaelle.
Good
And
morning.
good morning, and thank you for joining us for our Beth Tikvh initiative, where we are trying to share our members with the rest of the community so everyone can get to know each other better. And I think that you are an ideal person for this because you are very active in the synagogue. And that's really a great tribute to you and your family. So, Anaelle,
Yes.
you have a lot of very interesting portfolio. You and your husband are in synagogue very often, almost every week. You're one of the leading scientists in the country, in Canada, and you're also on the board. So you're really an ideal candidate for this project. So thank you for being on. And please, perhaps we can just start by you giving us a little background about yourself, where you're from, where you went to school, and where you met your husband, Danny, etc.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. Very good introduction. Don't know if I deserve all this, but thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm born in Switzerland, and I grew up there until I was 13 years old. And then with my family, we all moved to Canada. And then I grew up in Beth Tikvh. So I've been in a synagogue for many years. And then so I started my studies in Canada, like I did my bachelor, my master in Montreal. And then I moved to Belgium for my PhD. And that's where I met Danny. I met him there at the Chabad when I was studying. And then afterwards, we moved to France. I did one of my postdoc. Then we moved to Toronto when I did another postdoc. And then we moved back to Montreal. And since we are back to Montreal and we are back in DDO, back to Beth Tikvh, back to the sources.
Oh, fantastic. So you've really, as a young person, you've really lived in a lot of different places.
Yes, I did. Different
And
places, different situation. I mean, my three kids, they are all born in different places. Avital is born in France, Liel is born in Toronto, Elior is born in Montreal, and Danny and I, we got married in Israel. So it's all over the places.
fantastic. Wow. But you mentioned that you actually grew up in this synagogue.
Yes.
So you were part of the programs and the activities as a young person?
So I didn't do that much of the activities. I was always there every Shabbat. That's really, for me,
Yes.
the synagogue every single Shabbat. Then, however, I was going to school at Maimonides, Ville Saint Laurent. So I was less part of the activities, especially also because, it's English speaking. I grew up French speaking. Back then, I was not speaking English that well. So it was a bit harder for us to
Right.
get involved. So it took a bit more time. But Shabbat was really a big
Yes.
part of my life.
Well, I think it's wonderful that we see you and Danny and your children always in the synagogue each week, each Shabbat. It's fantastic.
I think it's important. I think it's very important for kids to grow up in a synagogue, and synagogue has to be a second home for
Yes,
everybody. But it starts young. If you bring your kids to synagogue when they're young, I believe they're gonna be comfortable and they're gonna grow up in the right environment.
yes. Do you remember any synagogues in Europe that you went to as a young person? Or
Yes.
yes,
I've
interesting.
always been a synagogue person. I remember everywhere I lived, I can talk to you about the synagogue because everywhere I live, I go to the synagogue, which I think is important. And I always keep strong strings with all the communities where I
That's
lived.
excellent. And you met your husband Danny in Belgium.
Yes. Yes, I
Excellent.
was studying there, and I was actually friend with his sister who was also studying there. And then he decided to move to Belgium also because he was in a place that he was thinking, what else can I do with my life? And he decided, why not go to Belgium because my sister is there too. And that's how we met.
Fantastic. Mazal tov. Fantastic. It seems like a wonderful match. Now you have a profession that most people are not really familiar with. You're an advanced scientist in quantum physics and Most
Yes.
people don't even know what that is, and you are one of the leaders in the country in that field. So perhaps you can give us a little insight as how did you get into that field of quantum physics and perhaps describe a little bit of it to us.
I can try.
Thank you.
So my dad is a mathematics professor, as probably most of you know. So I grew up seeing my dad doing math, and I always loved it. And I always thought I would do maths when I would be bigger. But then I had a very good physics teacher when I was about 17, 18, something like this. And I was like, oh, maybe physics is interesting. So I actually decided let's do rather physics. And there is a lot of math in physics, just that you apply them to something more specific. And so I started to study physics. And then during my master, I discovered quantum physics, which is the physics of everything which is very, very small, like the atoms and even smaller. And then afterwards, towards my PhD, I discovered quantum information, which is the science of quantum physics applied to quantum computers. Because that's the next big thing, trying to build a quantum computer. And so what I'm doing is working on the theory. I'm really a theorist. I'm not in the lab. I only do equations on my paper, but I'm working on the theory that will go behind building a quantum computer in very short.
Yes, I saw on the internet that you have quite a lot of journal articles that you have written yourself. So that's tremendous accomplishment for such a young person. Are you still writing articles, doing journal articles?
That's my main job, trying to do research, find results, and then write a paper about it. That's what I like to do, trying
Yes.
to add something small to
Yes.
the world of knowledge.
Fantastic. And where do you do most of your work? Is it in Montreal or is it
Yeah. So actually my group is in Ottawa. I'm working for the National Research Council, which is like the research done for the government of Canada. And my group is in Ottawa, but I'm working remote. I have an office in Montreal if I want, and I work also from home, which is convenient when you have kids and you have a little bit more flexibility.
Yes. Now I noticed on the internet that you're a part of a group called Mothers in Science.
Like another thing that I
Another
do.
thing that you're doing, which is very interesting. What is what is
Yeah,
that?
I can explain you a little bit. So in general, people say that, oh, you're a girl and you're in physics. This is very uncommon. That's true. But what is even more uncommon is actually to be a mother in physics. And because more and more girls will decide to study physics, but most of the time, once they become mom, they stop because they have a hard time handling or balancing professional life and personal life. Kids takes a lot of time, so it's not easy. So I'm part of this association where basically we just try to empower women and mothers especially and support each other and show that it's possible to be a great mom and having a great career. So we do a lot of advocacy and support.
Kol hakavod to you for that. To being able to juggle all these different things is just amazing. And then I always, I can't believe it when I see you, coming every Shabbat with all the kids, and I don't know how, just to get everything organized in the family, and here you are doing all this. But by
I
the way,
don't know if it's organized.
I see. Okay. Well, it looks like it is, so that's good. Is Canada one of the leaders in would you say in the world in quantum information physics?
It is, yes. We have a lot of research going on, a lot of money recently, like in the last years, the government is putting a lot of money inside the research of quantum physics. We have a few startups, very good companies that are like we don't have a full quantum computers, but we have small pieces starting to be built here and there. And in Canada, we do have a few leaders.
Yes.
So
And
it's a good place.
yes, wonderful. Does it put you in touch with researchers from around the world? Let's say in the Middle East, perhaps Israel. I mean, do you find that Israel's also in that area, or are they behind?
So they are. My only issue for now is that I'm not. So it seems very small, the field of quantum computing, when you are out. When you're inside, you realize that there is actually a lot of different topics. They do a lot in Israel, but not necessarily the exact topic that I'm working on. I'm always trying to find connection because, I do want to go there. And if I find conferences or collaboration, it's a very good excuse to travel to Israel. But
Wonderful.
that's also a very good place.
Yes, excellent. Now, I'd like to spend a few moments talking about the synagogue life. It's so interesting that first of all, you grew up in the synagogue, and now you're continuing to contribute to the synagogue because you're on the board. How are you finding that? Why is it important for you to be on the board as such a busy person? And how do you find time to do that? And why is that a priority of yours?
So I never thought I will be on the board on the Tikvh. Being on the board is usually not really my thing. But I see a big lack of, there isn't enough young coming to the synagogue. And I think that's really something which is lacking and something which is so important. And I've been complaining about it a lot, but I do realize that complaining brings us nowhere. So if I want stuff to change, I need to take concrete actions. So I decided let's be part of the board because that's the way to do it. And that's why I just said, okay, let's go. It definitely takes some time. But that's important. For me, this is really, really important to try to bring more young people, very, very young, also younger families, teenagers, like all of this, it's missing, in my opinion.
Yes, yes.
So slowly, like now we have every Shabbat, some girls, they're really great and taking care of the kids. So the kids can just come and play and we can pray in the synagogue. Hopefully next step, it's going to be that they're going to have some learning at the same time. But like
Yes.
slowly trying to implement some small program like this. This is why I'm in the board, because for me, that's really essential to the community, to all communities.
Yes. Well, I think it's great that you actually, stepped up to do that, and to take an active approach to making changes in the synagogue, because I think that's great. This weekend we actually had a young family that's considering moving here. I don't know if you had a chance to meet them, but they live in Ottawa and they're thinking about moving here. And so, like you said, it's a little by little process, and perhaps I can even share your email with them in case they have any questions, maybe because you could be able to, perhaps, if you don't mind. But I plan to put them in touch with other people in the meantime, because they're curious. The issues that you raise, it's on their minds. They want to know about programs and the Hebrew school that we have here, that we have the afternoon school. So I think it's wonderful, and that you're able to contribute to the board. How do you like the board meetings? How do you find the meetings?
Interesting. I mean, I'm learning about how the synagogues works. I mean, when you just go on Shabbat, you don't necessarily know what's happening behind the scene.
That's true.
So it's
That's
interesting.
true. It might be more complicated to understand everything in the synagogue than it is in the physics.
It is.
Well, you have the mind. You have a mind for it. I'm sure, with more people listening to this, perhaps more young people will also be energized by you.
I hope. But what is important to know for everybody listening is that you don't need to be part of the board to help or do some actions for the synagogue. Everybody can be involved and everybody can do something small. Being part of the board takes some time. There is all the board meeting. We have a bit more responsibilities, but it's possible for everybody to help just a little bit on one specific project. It doesn't have to be the full package.
Very nice.
Doing some recruiting.
Excellent. I like the scenery from the window that you have behind you.
Yes.
Are you at your office now?
Yes, but my office is on the campus of the University of Montreal, on top of the mountain. We see the
wonderful.
Saint-Joseph in the back.
Excellent. Well, listen, and Anaelle, first of all, thank you for everything you're doing for our synagogue, being on the board and promoting activities and growth of the synagogue. We really appreciate it, because it's people like you that are going to take us to the next level, to the next step. So thank you for being outspoken and for telling us. I hope Danny doesn't mind all the times that you're away from the house, because you're researching and then you're on the board and you're the Mothers for Science. Hope he doesn't, we don't want him to lose patience. But yes, he's a wonderful man, and we always enjoy seeing him and the children in the synagogue. So please continue doing what you're doing. You're a wonderful plus for our congregation. We're very grateful to you, and we wish you continued success with your research. It's so exciting that you're at the cutting edge of all this science. It sounds like it's a little bit of artificial intelligence. Is that part of it?
It's not what I'm doing, but definitely people are also working on it. I mean, there is many paths you can follow. It's a field that is just growing and growing. So many things to do, many connections.
With Hashem's help, with God's help, you have a bright future in all your endeavors, and with your family, and with your synagogue, and with your wonderful profession. And thank you so much for being a role model for all of us here in Beth Tikvh.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, and we wish you a wonderful day. Wonderful day.